everyone. Dr. Hesser here, and just want to welcome you to Module 5, where we're going to continue learning about writing the literature review with a special emphasis on organizing the information you gathered in your annotated bibliography. So in this particular module, I have really narrowed it down to one thing. I would like for you to create a document for yourself to organize the information you've gathered, and then share that document and talk to each other on the discussion board about how you organized your information. I'd like for you to also please start studying the instruction and rubric for the small scale literature review project, and which I've attached below. This has been shared each module, but now is the time to get that out and be thinking about how it's scored. I like to always begin with the end in mind. I want you to notice that the requirements are that you describe, interpret, evaluate, and synthesize the information you found while reading the literature relevant to your research question. So this requires you to think critically about each one of your chosen sources individually, but also collectively. And that is why I really want you to make some sort of chart, document, some way of organizing. You can do it however you want. I'm going to give you two examples. I already gave you one earlier in the course of how I organized my literature review, which was pretty extensive. Today, or for this module, I'm going to give you two other ways to create a chart. You can do this however you want. Sticky notes, pieces of paper with bubbles drawn, however it works for you in your brain. But the most important thing is that you do it, because the ability to look at these 10 sources individually and collectively, and then describe, interpret, evaluate, synthesize, it's impossible to do this if you don't have the information collected in some way that makes sense to you. So to assist you in this endeavor, we have two sample charts for you to use to take notes. If you choose. So you could choose one of those, or again, you can make your own. There's no requirement to do that. But one of your fellow course members last night during our Zoom meeting, our optional Zoom meeting, shared her way of organizing, and I thought she did a great job. So I asked her if I could share, Carissa. So she was kind enough to share her method of organizing. And so I've got a Google Sheet here for you that you can make a copy of yourself. It's just one more way of organizing your the data that you're finding in your 10 sources. Okay. Also, I'm including a chart I made for you that looks a little different. I organized mine on the side here. Just a way for you to take notes about each one of your sources: title, year, the type of source, the name of the journal, the topic of the research in that particular source, the methodology, the demographics, the geographics. So methodology, by that I mean qualitative, quantitative, mixed methods. Demographics, I mean, who are the people? Are they K through 5 students in rural Texas? And then, actually, I slipped into the geographics. The demographics, K5 students who are special needs would be demographics. Geographics, rural, small school, Texas. So we have those two areas. Key findings, key theories or concepts that came up. You may or may not have information to put in each of these boxes, and you might want to be typing in like 6-point font so it doesn't get completely out of control. But once you do this, you will be able to look and see, start to see some patterns. Same thing with, let's see. All right. I already, okay. So same thing with what Carissa shared. She put her topics up here at the top, and then she did the same thing. She took notes on each one of these things: research type, methodology, results, relevance. These are the things that you need to be able to think critically, not just about each source, but across the board and collectively and holistically. So, number one, review the requirements and the rubric. Number two, this week, we don't have a lot of other things that are required. I'd like for you to take this week to make a chart for yourself. so that you have a way to organize this data. We are reading Galvin and Galvin chapters 11, 13 this week. Then we have a post, which is all about how you're organizing your data. And you are going to be just turning in the first draft at the end of week 5 of your small scale literature review. Just your cover page, your introductory 1 or 2 paragraphs, and your references. Only those things. And then just a reminder, submission 2 is due the next week, where you add the body and conclusion. And then the final draft is submitted the Wednesday of week 7. So let's take a look at the rubric for submission 1. This is included for you to see, but in the submission area of Blackboard. But we're looking at a 15-point assignment. We want to make sure that the cover page is made per APA guidelines. The introduction length is 7 or more well-developed sentences. The introduction contains sentences stating the purpose of the literature review, okay? And that you could be, you decide what is your purpose for this. Are you exploring gaps, synthesizing findings, identifying trends? Okay, again, with the highlighting, please highlight this in green. And then blue, define the scope, okay, in more than one way. So what is this? How did you define the population? How did you define the geographics? How did you define the timeline of where you're searching? And then in pink, state and explain your research question that's guiding your introduction or your literature review. So that's, and then the last thing in yellow, the relevance of your research question to the field. So I do want you to highlight those things because I want to know that this is where you did that in your introductory paragraph or 2. That's it. And then your reference page, this is where you take the citations that you use for your annotations and you just line them up in a reference page, which I've given you an example of here. Make sure that you do them in alphabetical order or per the APA guidelines. And that's it for this first thing. I like the idea of breaking this down, and it also gives you a little bit more time to do the body of the literature review, which is where you will be submission 2, doing more of your heavy critical thinking. So this is the rubric for the body of your paper and your conclusion. And I'm not going to go over that right now, but I want you to know it's there for you to see. And then the final draft rubric is attached also to what I'm showing you for Module 5. So that is everything in place. We have the cover page, the introduction, the body of the paper, and the conclusion. So I hope that this makes sense to you. It's kind of interesting because when you read about literature reviews, most of the time you're probably finding information about literature reviews that are pretty extensive, because that's what you think about when you think of a literature review most of the time. What we're doing is learning how to do a literature review in a smaller scale way. And so some of the things that you read about may be appropriate and some may not. So for example, thematics, like, are you able to find themes over your 10 articles? Hopefully you can. Maybe they won't be as strong or as numerous as you might find in themes of a more extensive literature review, but they'll be there, and you'll be able to think about these things critically, individually, and holistically, and that's the whole point. So I hope you're seeing how this fits together. The annotated bibliography, that was your notes about each source. Now you're putting it together to give an idea of what is the literature review about, what's the literature saying about this research question that you have identified. Okay, so it's not a book report. It is you thinking about the puzzle pieces that you found and how they fit together related to your research question. You won't find, as I've said before in previous videos, you are not going to find a bunch of resources for your particular research question most of the time. If you find some, great. But if you found them, that's not the point. The point is you're finding articles around your questions so that you can build an idea of what's happening in educational research related to the thing that you're so interested in. So I'm really looking forward to reading these. You guys have the best research questions. I'm so impressed. Very interesting. So at the end of this module, you will have taken the quiz over Galvin and Galvin, chapters 11 through 13. We have the discussion board post and responses, which is your way of organizing your information to prepare for writing the body next week. And then just a reminder of submission to the body and conclusion the next week, and then the final draft the Wednesday after that. This course is flying by. I hope you're enjoying it. I am absolutely thrilled with what I'm seeing and enjoying getting to meet each of you individually, periodically, through emails and also sometimes video chat. And I do thoroughly enjoy this, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of this class. As always, if you have questions, please let me know. And I hope you enjoy your weekend.